Was the 1980s and 90s the golden age of bad fantasy adaptations? Or the most brave? Because here's the thing. Hollywood took some of its most beloved, expensive, effects-driven fantasy films and handed them to animation studios with TV budgets, zero network oversight, and a mandate to sell toys. And somehow, a handful of those shows didn't just survive, they rebuilt their source material from the ground up. But here's the controversy I want to drop in your lap. I think the NeverEnding Story cartoon is more faithful to the book than the live-action film ever was. And I think Highlander, the animated series, is a better sequel than any of the live-action follow-ups. Stick with me, because today we are not ranking by nostalgia. We are ranking by world-building expansion, magic system coherence, and character arc ambition. 7 animated series born from fantasy films. Let's break the crystal. Let's start with the one that had the easiest job and still almost fumbled it. The Wizard of Oz, the 1939 film, is the Mount Rushmore of fantasy cinema. So when Hanna-Barbera said, "Let's make a Saturday morning sequel," the bar was underground. And yet, this show is fascinating for one reason: it doesn't retell the movie. It picks up days after Dorothy returns to Kansas, and she gets yanked back to Oz because the wizard himself has been kidnapped by the Wicked Witch of the West, who, yes, is still alive. The magic system? Soft, whimsical, pure fairy tale logic. No rules. That's fine for a 22-minute episode. But the character arc is where this show surprises. Dorothy isn't wide-eyed anymore. She's annoyed. She knows Oz is chaos. And that cynicism actually lets the show explore Oz as a place with politics, not just a dream. Weakness? The animation is cheap, even by 1990 standards. But for world building, it gave us the first animated Oz that treated the setting as a functioning kingdom, not just a yellow brick tourist trap. Now this one is pure tonal whiplash. The 1985 Teen Wolf film is a comedy. It's a high school werewolf metaphor for puberty. The cartoon, however, aired on CBS and decided, what if we made this a supernatural action adventure? Scott Howard, now voiced by a different actor, fights vampires, mummies, and mad scientists, all while hiding his lycanthropy from his crush. The magic system here is gloriously inconsistent. Werewolf powers are essentially whatever the plot needs. Super strength, super speed, and sometimes heat vision. But here's the analytical twist. The show actually deepens the emotional arc of the film. In the movie, Scott learns to embrace his wolf side. In the cartoon, he's terrified of it. Every episode is a conflict between using his powers and exposing himself. That internal struggle, which the film glossed over, becomes the series' engine. Is it great? No. But is it a more honest exploration of what it means to be a monster in high school? Honestly, yes. And it gave us a villainous warhunter family that predates Teen Wolf, the MTV show, by nearly 3 decades. Okay, controversial take incoming. This show is better world building than Part 3. The 1985 film established time travel as a closed-loop paradox machine. The cartoon throws that out and says, history is Play-Doh. Doc Brown and Marty don't just visit famous events. They accidentally rewrite them and have to fix the timeline. The magic system here is pure sci-fi fantasy. The DeLorean runs on plutonium, but also on narrative convenience. However, the show introduces a brilliant rule. The time stream is a living entity that resists changes. That's not in the films. That's an original addition that makes every episode a puzzle, not just a sightseeing tour. Character arc? Marty actually gets more competent here than in the movies. In the films, he's reactive. In the cartoon, he's the one spotting paradoxes and correcting Doc's reckless enthusiasm. It flips their dynamic. And for a show that had no business being this clever, it gave us a version of Hill Valley that feels like a chronological sandbox, not just a nostalgia reel. Now we enter the what were they thinking tier, but in the best way. The 1989 film is a stoner comedy with a time-traveling phone booth. The cartoon is a fully committed fantasy epic where Bill and Ted are chosen by a cosmic being called the Great One to protect the space-time continuum from an evil villain named Denomolos, who, yes, is also from the future. The magic system here is chaos magic with a philosophical bent. The universe runs on excellent logic. which basically means good vibes and historical accuracy are the same thing. If you make a historical figure act out of character, reality unravels. That's a hard rule, and the show follows it relentlessly. Character arc? This is where it gets wild. Bill and Ted don't grow up, they grow sideways. They become custodians of history, not tourists. And the show gives each of them distinct decision-making styles. Bill is impulsive, Ted is strategic. That nuance is completely absent from the films. So while the animation is janky, the philosophical world building is shockingly coherent. Alright, I promised a hot take, and here it is. The 1984 film is a visual masterpiece but a narrative mutilation of Michael Ende's novel. The cartoon, yes, the cheap, syndicated, Canadian-produced cartoon, actually restores the meta-narrative. Bastian doesn't just read the book. He co-writes Fantasia with every wish he makes. The magic system is the most elegant on this list. Every wish Bastian makes costs a memory. The more he changes Fantasia, the more he forgets his own life. That's straight from the novel. The film only hints at it. The cartoon makes it the central mechanic. Each episode, Bastian has to decide, save Fantasia or remember his mother's face. Character arc? Brutal. Bastian goes from a lonely, passive kid to an active, reluctant god king. And the show doesn't shy away from the tragedy. He literally loses pieces of himself. The animation is stiff, but the writing is more faithful to the source material than anything Wolfgang Petersen put on screen. I stand by that. Now we get to the dark horse. The 1986 Highlander film is a sword and sorcery tragedy about immortality and love. The cartoon is a post-apocalyptic fantasy set in a world devastated by the Korgon's victory, which, spoiler, didn't happen in the movie. This is an alternate timeline sequel. The magic system? It's called The Quickening. But here it's treated less like a power-up and more like a curse. Each immortal carries the souls of those they've killed. And our protagonist, Quentin MacLeod, refuses to take heads. So he's weaker than every villain. That's a brilliant constraint. He has to outsmart, not outfight. Character arc. Quentin is the anti-Connor MacLeod. Connor accepted the game. Quentin rejects it. And the show forces him to confront that pacifism might cost the world its last hope. It's morally gray. It's bleak. And it has no business being this thoughtful for a show that also has a talking raven sidekick. But the world building, a ruined Earth ruled by immortal warlords, is richer than any of the live-action sequels combined. And finally, the only show on this list that wasn't a Saturday morning cash-in. Troll Hunters and its sister series are based on a novel by Guillermo del Toro, not a film. But I'm including them because they feel like a film franchise split into 3 animated chapters. And they do something no other entry here does. They build a unified magic system across trolls, aliens, and wizards. The magic system is color-coded. Blue for troll sorcery, green for alien tech, red for human wizardry. Each has its own rules. Troll magic requires trueness of heart. Alien tech requires mechanical precision. Wizardry requires sacrifice. And the show cross-pollinates them in the final season, forcing characters to learn each other's logic to defeat a common enemy. Character arcs? This is the gold standard. Jim Lake Jr. goes from a shy kid to a troll hybrid warrior to a time-displaced mentor. Each series hands off the protagonist's baton, Troll Hunters to Three Below to Wizards, and every arc pays off. It's the only entry here that respects its audience's intelligence from episode 1 to the finale. If you've only seen the film Troll Hunters, Rise of the Titans, skip it. The series is the real deal. So here's the final tally. 7 shows, 7 different strategies for expanding a film's mythology. Some, like Oz and Teen Wolf, played it safe and added depth by accident. Others, Bill and Ted and NeverEnding Story, used the cartoon format to be more faithful to their source's weirdest ideas. And one, Highlander, took a risk and built a whole new dark fantasy timeline that outshines its live-action sequels. But I want your hot take. Do you think the NeverEnding Story cartoon actually respects the book more than the movie? Or am I completely delusional? And more importantly, which of these shows deserves a modern reboot with today's animation budgets? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one, even the ones that call me a heretic. And if you made it this far, you know what to do. Hit that button. Because Fantasia isn't going to save itself.